Hi guys, welcome to my channel Lush Gardener. I hope you guys are fine and are safe. So guys, today I'll be chopping off my Graptopetalum Purple Delight. I know a lot of you might get mad saying that why am I chopping it off? Now the reason behind that is because the plant is getting very compact and you might say it's better to repot rather than chopping off such a beautiful plant. Now guys, if you're going to watch this video till the end, you will be able to understand why I'm doing so. I'm not doing this because I'm lazy and I do not want to repot it, but you'll be able to get the idea by the end of this video. So while I'm conducting this operation, let me quickly give you a few care tips of this particular succulent. Now guys, Graptopetalum is a genus of succulent. Let's talk a little bit about the light requirement. Now guys, the name of the succulent, as I said, is Graptopetalum Purple Delight. So if you want your succulent to look delightful with that purple color, you'll have to provide it with morning direct sunlight for at least 5 to 6 hours. It will do quite well in indirect bright light as well, but if you want that intense purple color, then you'll have to provide it with at least 5 to 6 hours of morning direct sunlight. Now talking about watering, because it is a succulent, you need to ensure that you do not overwater it, otherwise the leaves will start to turn yellow and it even might rot. So ensure that your soil is porous, loose, well draining and has to dry out before watering it again. So ensure that your soil is bone dry before you go ahead and water it. Now talking about fertilizers, it completely depends upon you. If you do not add any fertilizers, it's going to be absolutely fine. I personally do not use any fertilizers. So when to use fertilizers? Graptopetalum variety tends to go dormant during the summers. So I'm going to put the picture how the succulent looks during the summer period. So this is the picture of my Graptopetalum Purple Delight during the summers. Now this is during the dormancy period. You can see the color is very intense. You'll also notice that the shape of the leaves also tend to change when they go dormant. The leaves tend to close inwards. As you can see, the succulent is not completely open. This is a sign that the plant is into its dormancy. The colors also get very intense. Now this is the succulent, that how it tends to look during the winters. Now winters are their growing period. They are in their active growing period during the winter season. So this is the picture how the succulent looks during the winter period. You can see the leaves are much more open, and you'll also notice that the color also tends to reduce. The intensity of the color on the leaves also tends to reduce. It's because they are in their active growing period, and this is the time if you wish to add any kind of liquid fertilizers, you can go ahead and do it, but always ensure that you do it once a month or maybe once in 2 months. Do not over fertilize your succulents, otherwise your succulents will get weak. Now talking about pest, now guys, Graptopetalum is, especially this variety, it's like a magnet to mealybugs. So you have to keep an eye on it. Usually the leaves will get affected with mealybugs. Now what I can suggest is, as a precaution, you can use cinnamon powder. Use it once every 3 weeks. Just sprinkle a pinch of it on the soil, not on the succulent, but if you notice that there are mealybugs on the leaves then or on the succulent, then you can sprinkle a pinch of cinnamon powder. Let the cinnamon powder sit on the succulent for at least 30 to 45 minutes and then just brush it off. Ensure that whenever you're doing any kind of brushing, take your succulent away from your other succulents or from your garden. Probably you can go away from your garden and then just brush it off. Basically, the cinnamon powder will loosen up the mealybugs and it becomes much easy to brush them off. So you could see the amount of mealybugs on the underneath of the succulent leaves. Overall, if you would have seen, the succulents were looking very healthy because this was an initial infestation. So the mealybugs were just starting up their party under the canopy of these succulents. It was a nice cozy place for them to reproduce and continue the destruction. But it's good that I went ahead and chopped it off. So now I'm going to treat all of my succulents. I'm going to use a lot of cinnamon powder and clear off all those mealybugs. Now guys, another important thing, we have done a lot of cuttings over here. All of the succulent stems and the succulents have these open wounds, so you have to be extremely careful that none of these succulents come in contact with any moisture or any water. So I'm going to move these pots in a location wherein there is no rainfall or there is no water that is going to come in contact, because as I said, we are in the monsoon season, so I have to be extremely careful. Now I'm not going to use any plastic sheet to cover it because I have a space where I tend to keep them where there is no water that is going to fall on them, so it's going to help them dry up. Now meanwhile, what I'm also going to do is I'm going to clear off all the dry leaves. Remember guys, this is the best opportunity to check if everything is good in the soil. I see that there is a lot of dry leaves, so I'm going to get rid of that. I will clear up the pot and then I'm going to set this pot aside because I have to let all of these cuttings to callus. So everything looks very healthy. I have chopped off the succulents of the stem, and you can see all the stems are very green. They're very juicy, which indicates that there is no issue with the stems. And these are all the cuttings that I have over here. I currently have 5 of them over here. The smaller one is a pup that I will be putting in separately. Now this is the pup which is slightly affected with mealybugs. I'm quite scared about it, but I think it's going to work out really well. And when I was cutting, I also found a few of these leaves. Now you can see that scar guys, that is done by my dog, that's the artist. So yeah, coming back to these cuttings, all of these cuttings are looking very healthy. There is a lot of mealybug infestation. I need to take care of that infestation first. Now guys, if you're a beginner, you don't have to do this. I'm just giving you an example what you can do, what are the ideas you can come up with. But if you're not confident, I'm not going to force you to chop off your succulents. You can just basically repot them whenever you feel like they are getting overcrowded. But it's not necessary that you have to chop them off. But I'm just giving an example in case if tomorrow you have to do something, you can be prepared and you will know how to go about it. So it's been over a month. I had done the chopping on 15th of August 2021. So now I have prepared my pot. I have sprinkled some cinnamon powder, and here are my succulents that I had cut them. I let them callus and I've even let them air root. You can see there are a lot of pink roots which are waiting to get into the soil. So I will quickly go ahead and put them into the soil. Now here I'm using a very basic earthen pot which will work out really well. As I said, they prefer their soil to be dry rather than moist. They do not like moisture in the soil. So this earthen pot is going to work out really well because it's going to suck up all of the moisture from the soil. So here is another succulent as well that has air rooted. In fact, all of them have air rooted. Now, a lot of people ask me, is it okay to put them directly into the soil without noticing if there are roots or no? Yes, you can do that as well. It completely depends upon you. But the most important part is that the cuts have to callus and only then add them to the soil. Now guys, why I let them air root is because it gets really confusing, because when you put them into the soil, it's very difficult to know whether the roots have appeared or no, because you remember you're only going to water the soil when you tend to see that the roots are present. So this tends to work out really well for me, but there is nothing like you have to let it air root. You can even put it into the soil. Now the best way to check whether your succulent has rooted or no is if you have already put it into the soil, then when you tend to touch your succulent, if the roots are present, the succulent will feel more firm, more stiff in the soil. That indicates that the succulent has rooted. Again guys, I don't like to take that chance. So what I tend to do is I try to ensure that I have seen the roots and only then I go ahead and add it into the soil, because it makes your life much more easy. The most important part is that you have to let the succulent callus. The wound has to get healed. It has to get dried before you put it into the soil. Now again, if there are no roots present, you're not going to add any water, because if you're going to add water, there could be a risk of the succulent getting rotted. Because guys, remember, if there are no roots present on the succulent, how will it absorb the water from the soil? That water is going to stay in the soil is going to stay moist, and that could harm the succulent. Now guys, because there was so much of purple in this pot, I thought I'm going to add a little bit more of color to it. So I have some of my Echeveria prolifica cuttings that I'm also going to be adding to this arrangement. Now they're very tiny, so they won't be taking a lot of space, but this is just because I wanted to make it look a little bit color, because there is a lot of monotonous purple color in this pot. So adding a little bit of green will make it look a little pretty. I hope so. So now the main question, why did I chop them off and not repot them? Now guys, if I would have repotted my succulents, I would have only ended up with 6 succulents. But over here, because I did a chopping, you can see I have 6 stems and there are pups on them. Let's not be overconfident. Let's say that each of these 6 stems, if they tend to have even 2 pups on each stem. So in this pot, I have around 12 succulents that are going to be the future generation. That is only if I'm going to take really good care of this, then I am going to be ending up with at least minimum 12 succulents. So rather than just repotting and having those 6 succulents, I thought that I'm going to multiply it. So you can imagine 12 succulents in this pot and 6 succulents in the other pot. So in total, I'm going to end up with at least 18 succulents just by chopping them off. So guys, this is how you can go ahead and multiply your succulents. But guys, again, if you are a beginner, please don't get overexcited. Don't be greedy. At times, there can be casualties that can happen and you might not end up with a lot of succulents. So you need to be really careful. There is a lot of work that goes behind this. Probably I'll have to take a lot of care, only then these succulents will be able to turn into adult succulents. Again, it is a very long process. It's not that it's going to happen really quick. Probably by the end of next monsoon season, they might reach to a size of maybe 2 or 3 inches. And if you remember the small pup that was infested with mealybugs, and I was quite worried whether it'll make it through or no. But luckily it did. It's doing quite well. I've given it an individual pot so that it can have its own space to grow. I hope that it tends to grow into an adult succulent, probably after 2 or 3 years, maybe. So in total, we have this small little pup, and then let's say that we have around 12 pups on these stems, and then we have these 5 succulents in another pot. So in total, we have around 18 Graptopetalum Purple Delight. Now that's not about it. Remember those leaves that were designed by the artist, they have also started their journey. They have pups and roots as well. And there were a couple of more leaves that happened to break while I was taking off the mealybugs. Even they have started to root. So basically I have a lot of pups that are going to be working out in future. Hopefully everything works out really well. So guys, I hope that this video was helpful to you. If it was, please hit the like button. If you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing to it. Until then, take care, stay safe, and keep propagating.